my interpretation. Like,
and you're dry farming, right? Dry farming. So how do these people dry farm? You know how they dry farm? They're building their beds where groundwater is oozing out of the side of the hill.
Yeah.
They're building their beds in what we would call a floodplain. So there's always moisture trickling out to the riverbed or into the groundwater. So it's a beautiful thing, but it's very, very limited on this planet where you have that perfect environment where groundwater is oozing out and creating this, aquifer at plant root depth. So that's what you're doing, is you're dry farming. Now, does dry farms occasionally get a rain shower?
Of course.
Maybe you should put a rain shower.
Oh, and I follow nature with that too. So I realize that in nature, water comes from above. So of course, I use my brain and I take breaks from bottom watering and I give it a rain shower. Like I'd say I probably do it, to be honest, like 3 times a week. It's pretty light rains. So I go more for, like you say, a glaze, a bit more than a glaze. Like I want water to penetrate from the top. But yeah, it's really worked out for me in the horizontal beds with bottom watering, I guess, except for this one particular cultivar, which we're blaming on this, but there's other variables. I'd like to mention too that before building horizontal beds, I was growing in just regular potting mix pots, and I would put about an inch or 2 of perlite at the bottom, and I watered from the bottom just like that. And I know it sounds boring, but it actually worked very, very well. And I still do it in my R&D room. So what I have is a 3-light R&D room. And I run, give or take, like 100 to 150 plants, very, very small plants in pots. And I have a layer of perlite at the bottom. And all I do for watering is they're all in big plastic trays. And in the morning, I get to work. I put about 3/4 of an inch of water in the tray, and that's it. They just wick. It'd be very hard to do in like any other technique, because then I'd be guessing plant per plant how much to water. And I'll tell you, doing that, every cultivar pretty much prays like crazy, and it's just the easiest thing ever. So like capillary action and bottom watering, in my opinion, works out very, very well. And I'm totally down with the ionometer and exploring more. But just I guess I'm not really, how could I say? I'm not letting nature take its course there. It's not nature. It's in a friggin' pot anymore. But
so let me interject a little bit. So backing it up, that's the beauty of the aerometer, side by side, one in one layer, one in the other. It's going to teach you how to water. Watering has always been the biggest issue with whatever you're trying to grow. Too much or not enough, shit goes sideways. And how do you get the middle without having these events that nature does? So the aerometer is going to be an amazing tool for you, because you're a geek and you're going to get into it real quick. So I have this other buddy, Michael Hinden. God rest his soul. I miss him fucking horribly. He was such a fucking nut. Now, he was a breeder, so he was all about, or modern genetics, epigenetics, whatever you want to call it. His Instagram handler, his girlfriend, who still carries on his work, is Modern Epigenetics on Instagram. Highly suggest you follow her. Bree's doing some amazing fucking breeding. Michael was such a fucking nut that he would put his pot on a fucking scale and wait, and then add the necessary water, wait. So when that plant drew down X amount of water in a day, he knew tomorrow or the next day, if he was doing a dry back, that he had to add this much more water till that pot weighed this, because he would know that it would dry out 24 hours later.
Oh, I always thought like my perfect grow in if I'm growing in pots would be like to have a scale on every single friggin' pot and run that way. Of course, I always kind of dreamed of that.
He went there, dude. He fucking went there, and he used to yell at Bree. Like Bree and I became very good friends after he was murdered. And we used to laugh about it. She goes, he'd come in here and start screaming at me because I was pouring water in a plant that wasn't on the scale.
Well, you see, if you're growing in pots like that, and I run like 600 to 800 plants per batch, it's impossible.
No, it is. It is. No. And again, he was breeding, and he was breeding for seed, feminized seed, and so he had the ability to do that, and he got paid well for his genetics or for his seeds, so he could afford to just be small and do his thing, because it was more of a passion hobby. I mean, yeah, he did it to make some money, but he also worked, so it wasn't his only source of income. But bottom line is, I love capillary action. The only negative thing that I have to say about that is if you get a pathogen in one of those, you're fucked, because you can't get it out, right? So there was a facility that I was brought into, years ago now, probably 5-6 years ago. And they had a horrible problem with this mite. So the mite had gotten into the capillary mats and set up shop. And so it was living under every pot, and it just kept moving to every next pot. So the whole fucking grow went sideways, and they couldn't figure out where it was coming from, how it was breeding, how it was living. And so basically I'm like, you guys got to tear this out and fucking start over again. And I would recommend that you don't do this again, because you have idiot employees. Your idiot employees are growing their own shit, bringing in all these bugs, because you guys have no fucking biosecurity. You're fucking idiots. Should have every person has to come in here and get changed in the locker room, fucking shower, and then put the new clothes on, or the clothes that they have here for work every time, so that there's no way you can bring these fucking bugs in, because that's exactly what the fuck happened to them.
Yeah. But in general, though, would you agree that, like, aside from that, those kind of problems you could have with, say, a capillary mat, would you say that bottom watering and capillary action, how could I put it, like, gives you a very good moisture level in general?
So again, they were a chemical grow. So you have a living soil, different animals. Like,
like a chemical grow, I could see that you would like bottom water and like build EC at the bottom and run into serious problems there.
Yeah, that's what they did. They had all kinds of algae and shit growing in there. It was
talking about chemicals.
Right. So, and I just wanted to make that clear to the audience that I'm not talking about synthetic grow. If you're a synthetic grow,
forget about it.
You're an idiot. That's all I'm going to say.
And I've had synthetic master growers come to my shop and see what I was doing, and they were like, "Dude, how do you not get serious like EC buildups in your bed or in your pots or whatever?" And I had to explain to them, like, okay, there's no such thing as EC buildup with straight water.
No, nor in a living soil system.